This afternoon, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagwan has admitted a motion of censure filed by minority MPs seeking to remove embattled Finance Minister Ken Ofori Atta. Now, the minorities say Ken Ofori Atta is incompetent and is to be blamed for the current economic woes of Ghanaians. Speaking exclusively to Joy News, Minority Leader Haruna Jusu said they are hopeful by 10th November they can conclude processes to remove the Finance Minister.
On a motion of censorship of the finance minister to seek parliamentary resolution for his censorship and consequent removal as Minister of Finance to save Ghana, to save the economy, to save businesses, to save the Ghanaian citizens who are going through excruciating hardship under his incompetent mismanagement and management of the Ghanaian economy. The motion has been admitted by Mr. Speaker, and therefore it will have to go through the requirement of the Constitution, notice for at least 7 days before we move the motion. So between now and 10th November, the Constitution requires that it is done within 14 days.
The minority leader has also been criticizing the majority for accepting a request from the president to have the finance minister stay on until the 2023 budget is presented and an IMF deal concluded. In an unprecedented move, majority MPs called for the removal of Ken Ofori Atta, and Haruna Jusu says more time won't save the finance minister.
When they are asking for time to do what? If he completes the IMF project and budget, who implements it? That further creates uncertainty in the market, and that can affect the performance of the city. I'm not too sure whether Ghana's debt is sustainable, but I'm convinced that it's unsustainable, and the World Bank and IMF is likely to come to the same irresistible conclusion that Ghana's debt is unsustainable. Can you imagine when they came to tell Parliament that Sino-Hydro was better? So let them bring the tomatoes to pay for the onions.
Why do you think they will now give the ministers more time?
No, even with more time, we want to know when he quits and when he leaves. When you say allow him to read budget, allow him to conclude IMF, and what happens afterwards?
Majority Leader Osei Mensah-Bonsu says there is still division among the MPP members of Parliament, despite an agreement reached last night to allow the Finance Minister and the Minister of State at the Ministry, Charles Edubuahin, stay in office until after the conclusion of the IMF deal and the presentation and approval of the 2023 budget. Now, this is the outcome of a meeting held by the Majority Caucus after President Akufo-Addo had asked for the lifeline to be given. There's more in a statement released after the meeting.
It states that the president engaged members of the caucus and requested that the issue be stood down until the conclusion of the round of negotiations with the IMF and the presentation of the budget in November 2022 and a subsequent passage of the appropriation bill, which time demands shall be acted upon. After deliberations among the caucus today, that is yesterday, Wednesday, October 26, it was agreed to accede to the president's appeal and is signed by Osei Mensah-Bonsu, Majority Leader.
Majority Leader Osei Mensah-Bonsu tells Joy News not all members are happy with the development, but are abiding by it in the interest of party unity.
Consequent upon the engagement, the members have come to the appreciation of the matter that the president spoke to. Earlier on, when I met them, but that was my own plea that for the same day we should get beyond it, cross this great thing. And then when we are beyond the shores, then these things could be brought back. Well, I made a passing appeal. I would say the generality of the caucus was not predisposed to go with me. We went to see the president. The president spoke to almost the same issue that I did. But sometimes, when matters come from a man who commands greater authority, certainly members get persuaded. Some of them were convinced after I had spoken to them. And some of them were not persuaded. And when we went to the president, people got convinced and persuaded. But we reclined to come to have further deliberations. on the request from the president. And the agreement at the end of the call that we should hold on for the time being. And that's what is contained in the release.
Let's go to Parliament now because parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante joins us with details. Kweku, run us through the processes that will lead to the censure motion dealt with in Parliament.
So the censure motion that is reported has now been admitted by the Speaker of Parliament. It has to be notified to all other parties, including the Finance Minister himself. And if you look at the other paper today, it has been listed as a notice for the next 7 days. After these 7 days, it may be moved. The Constitution allows that within the next 14 days, this matter must be dealt with. So after these 7 days notice has been given, the movers of the motion will now move the motion on the floor to be debated and to be voted upon. The constitutional threshold is 2/3 of members of Parliament to vote for it. But just like we've been talking about, the majority have been raising some objections to the issues have been listed on the other paper. Indeed, according to Deputy Majority Leader Afenyo Makin, the ground for which the motion has been filed is not sufficient. He wants more evidence to be led so that the Speaker of Parliament can now admit those for the Finance Minister to be prepared and come back and respond to those. The Speaker of Parliament took about 5-minute break to rule on the matter. He has just returned, and so they will hear from the minority and other majority MPs. The Speaker of Parliament will make a ruling as to whether or not the other paper has been advertised and the issues that have been raised are constitutional.
Kweku, what other business is Parliament considering today?
So it's a very light day in Parliament. If you look at the other paper, a number of issues have been to do with government business, papers will be laid, and then the House will adjourn and then take the business statement for next week.
All right, that is parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante giving us an update on what is happening in Parliament. You're still watching Joy News today. But founder of the Ghana Institute of Public Options, Charles Rekubrobre, says the latest statement by the majority MP casts doubts on the credibility on their actions.
The people who originally issued this statement, please, said that the finance minister has lost credibility, and therefore this was affecting the discussions and the pace and the outcome of the negotiations. Their whole statement was premised on the need for change now. So their more recent statement has now also added them to those who have lost credibility. The internal politics is purely a matter between the executive and the parliamentarians. Obviously, they feel that they are not being able to satisfy their constituents. Let me go back to it. Because of certain payments and other obligations to them that have not been met, and they blame Ofori Atta for that. They also say that they were not happy about insider trading, etc., etc. So the complete U-turn is, for me, nothing but shameful. And they have joined the group of incredulous politicians and an incredulous executive.
On his part, Executive Director of INEC, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, believes the majority MP's decision is based on trust for the president. A failure will therefore incur dire consequences.
The fact that Parliament is leading this and his own party puts the president in a very difficult situation. Look, there are countless number of things, apart from the budget, that they have to approve. International agreements, loans, this coming and so on. And you have a hung Parliament and an opposition that is already geared towards, bringing about this effect, censuring the minister and so on. So if I put all these factors together, I do not think that the president has had his way. Except that he says we are in the negotiations and in 3 weeks, I don't know, I picked the 3 weeks from another source, and that would end, and then we can take this. Parliament can decide not to go ahead with approving the budget if they do not have clear signs. If they trusted their leader that his word will be done in terms of the minister standing down and resigning and all whatever. This is the position they've taken. We should hold them to it. But I think the consequence of reneging on the minister, Ken Ofori Atta, and his deputy staying on would look quite threatening to the president. There will be a bigger action, not only in Parliament. It's possible a wider group.